What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 24 of Nintendo Noise, Flip Screen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined, as always, by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
Mr. Chuy Huerta.
Goodbye, goodbye.
And making her grand return to the show, SierraPlusUltra.
Thank you for having me. So stoked to be here again.
Yeah, and we got you for a whole month, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so of course, it is the 1st of February that we are recording this. By the time you're listening to it, about the end of the first week. Congrats on making it this far in 2022. So, of course, that means it is time for the second annual edition of Ring Fit February. That's right, everybody. It's back with a vengeance. We are here to get buff this February. And, of course, if you are a new listener, if you weren't around when we did this last year on our old podcast, we'll give you just a quick breakdown of Ring Fit February. So this is something that we did on the show last year, and it was actually Chuy was our guest for the month that time. So look how far we've come. And basically the challenge was that for the entire month of February, for every day, you would play at least 10 minutes of Ring Fit Adventure. And then it could be whatever difficulty level, is right for your personal fitness level. Of course, you're welcome to exercise for longer than 10 minutes. We decided on that number so that it was like something that was welcoming to beginners and unfit folks like me and Steve who were trying to get in shape. And you can choose to, this time since we're following up, we decided that we could either start from the beginning if we felt like we needed to, or we could choose to pick up where we left off a year ago today and see how our bodies fared. So
it didn't go too well for me, if I'm honest. Like I went back, I did some of the earlier levels to kind of get myself prepped for it, and then I went back to where I was, and it was one of those levels where you've got to do a million fucking squats to like jump up to the higher levels, and I was like, my legs were in absolute agony at the end. They felt like they felt like jelly. It was awful.
I'll tell you what, Steve, I'm glad you did that because I elected to not do that specifically because I saw the post you had made about how much you suffered. So I went back to the very beginning and beat the first two worlds over again. Tomorrow I might try and jump ahead, but I was like, all right, I'm going to ease myself back into this a little bit. But anyway, yeah. Sierra, as our guest, I want to, what is your history with Ring Fit? I know we asked you because, anecdotally, a couple of weeks ago, Chuy was like, oh, yeah, I always see Sierra playing. I was like, oh, perfect. It's right around the corner. Let's get her back on the show. So how long have you been playing Ring Fit? How normal is it in your routine?
I've been playing it since November. It was initially an incentive for a sub goal on Twitch. And then I just kept going because I hate high intensity cardio workouts that are do 90 squats and 100 mountain climbers and then hold a boulder over your head. I don't want it. When I want to do workouts, I want it to be something I enjoy, so it's it flies, and I really love it. So I've been playing since November, earlier mid-November, or no, maybe October, the fall of 2021. And I still play at least a few times a week. Eventually I'd like to go back to the gym, but it's a great alternative if you want to avoid the gym and public places. And as of today, I am level 88.
Wow. All right, cool.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I'm at 62 after today, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, that's right.
As of today.
Yeah.
Not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah, but
remember
we
we played
61. We're pretty similar where we all are.
Yeah, I mean, we played every day for a month and only managed to get it to there, but I'm also very aware that Chuy plays this on the highest difficulty setting for the game, and I do not. I'm nowhere near that.
And I remember we were joking about it last year where Chuy would just come in and be like, oh yeah, I did it for 30 minutes. And we're like, motherfucker, you're just making us look bad. Coming on our podcast.
I have days where sometimes, I go longer if I can. I'm like, I can do this. And I just breeze. But if I'm just dialing it in, I'm it's obligatory, get a workout in day. I'll just do a quick 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah,
so I gotta say, I did find it really motivating last year when I saw that Pete had done 5 minutes, but over the time that we'd done, and I wanted to beat Pete, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna do 6 minutes over the time.
And that's kind of the fun of it, right? Is like there is
Yeah.
that kind of competition to it, and it helps. For me anyway, like between keeping myself honest, having the post to put up every day to let everybody, hey, here's my progress for the day, but also knowing that if I missed, if I were to miss a day or something like that, I'm breaking the streak. I'm not keeping up the challenge. I'm letting the podcast down. So yeah, that whole thing of it is a lot of fun. And I know for me anyway, for day one, like I definitely took it easier than Steve, and I definitely was still feeling it, but by the end of it, I felt good, not wiped, and it was like, oh right, yeah, I really liked doing this. Why did I stop this very healthy habit? So here's hoping it sticks this time.
Yeah, funny enough, I had kind of trouble finding a time to fit it in, but then my schedule got all mixed around, and then I was like, you know what? Now is it? And then even then, I only did like 12-ish minutes. I think it was a mini game in one of the levels, but I had already done the mini game, so then the level just like pushed it past the 10,
Yeah.
and I was like, cool. I remember this, and kind of the difficulty in some of the movements that are there.
Yeah, it was funny because like I hit the 10-minute mark and I was like, all right, I'm going to do one more level even though I'm feeling tired. Like, let me push myself a little bit. And then the game did that thing where it's like, are you sure you don't want to stop? And I was like, oh, you know what? You're right, Ring Fit. I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Well, oh man, that I actually had to log back in because that popped up and I wasn't paying attention, and then I clicked to exit, but I was like, no, I was just about to unlock that treasure chest next. Let me at least get that. And then it was like, nope, let's do your out stretches. I was like, no, I'm skipping this. I'm logging back in. And I'm gonna get my treasure chest, and then we're gonna go through this. So
I love
yeah, that thing kind of gets in the way, and I'm like, is there an option to turn it off? I don't know.
I don't think there is. I
Yeah.
think it's like a safety thing that it has to stay on.
Yeah.
But one thing I did notice going back, because I did the early levels and now I'm level 68, I did notice that I'm probably, if I do that again, I'm going to have to turn on the setting that Chuy mentioned last year, which is you can continue going if you beat one of the enemies. It will let you
yeah.
finish like your move set. Because I was like doing some of the moves in those early levels, like level 1, and you kill them and you're
Just
like
killing
you've done,
them in, like,
two shakes and they're gone.
Yeah.
It's like you've
You know,
not
you
even done a
can do
workout.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's two different settings. One is like it'll let you complete those exercises that have like do it with this side, do it with that side, So you'll work your way through the whole thing instead of just being like, "Oh, I only exercised my right arm today," because
I had that
that's all it asks.
problem.
Yeah, so you
Nice.
can set it to that, and I think the even more difficult one is you can set it to like you are not done defeating this enemy until you're done with the exercise. Like it'll just like and when you turn these on, it's basically like on that last hit, but it keeps regenerating that last hit, so it stays alive until the end of the exercise.
Wow. Okay. That's
I don't
sick.
do it. I at least do the one where it's like the two side exercises, but I
Did it end
haven't
up
turned
with
it
one
on for
ripped
the.
arm and the other one like a chicken arm?
Yeah. You want to get beefy on just one side. That's your good side.
I want to be like, there's like that race from Star Trek where it's like one side black, one side white, but I just want to be one side exactly as I am and one side just absolutely shredded. All right. So, of course, this is only day one, so, not too much to talk about here. But, of course, we'll be checking in all throughout the month. Sierra's here for the whole month of Ring Fit February, so we'll be talking more about it in the weeks to come. So I hope that if you didn't see our posts about it, you're just hearing about it now, take the challenge, right? Go ahead, post your, wherever you start, go start posting your progress. We've got you can come post it in the Discord and chat with all of us over there. But we're doing like a daily social media post just to like kind of track our progress and keep us honest. So I would encourage you to do the same if you're interested in thinking about taking the plunge.
I did want to ask you guys, did you have any goals in mind with the game this time around?
Oh, sure.
I think for me, like, I think 10 minutes isn't quite enough for me because I have been exercising quite a bit, just like on my own leading up to this. So I'm thinking I might go for 30 with each one. but then also it's like it takes long to get to those 30 minutes in this game, so I'll see how I feel about that, But yeah, I don't know if you guys wanted to like see how much more time you could add on by the end of it, or just getting through is the goal,
Yeah, I think for me, like right now, just getting through is the goal because I don't want to set myself up, for like failure by like setting some goal that is not where my body's at right now. But I remember last time, after the first like week or so, I was kind of tending to average more towards like 15 minutes a day or higher. And that's kind of my goal is by the end of the month, I'd like to kind of challenge myself to have the minimum be 15 rather than 10 or maybe even 20. Because, long term, I want to keep the habit, and I think ideally, I'd like to exercise for in the neighborhood of 30 minutes a day at the very least, considering I have a desk job and play video games, and the only physical activity I get is playing drums, which is also sitting down. So I got to get off my ass for at least 30 minutes a day. That feels like the right move.
I like the idea of bumping it up to 15 minutes, but I think what I would probably do, and I think the game really wants you to do around 10 minutes, because that's when the prompt pops up, and it starts telling you get off. I think really when I start feeling like, oh, I could have gone for another 5 minutes, or I could have gone for another 3 minutes, that's when I should probably bump the difficulty up 1 or 2 notches, rather than saying I'll just go for a little bit longer. Actually push myself in other ways by saying that I should probably make this game a little bit harder, so the moves take a little bit more, or the courses are a little bit longer, or the enemies are a little bit stronger.
I turn the difficulty up every day, 1 notch, and that's how I tried to keep building the strength. And
you'll be at max myself by the end of the month then, I suppose.
Yeah, I knocked it down 2 today when they're like, hey, it's been a while since you played, and I was like, yeah, just knock it down a lot, that's fine. So yeah, please write in with your adventures here on Ring Fit February, and keep us posted on how you're doing and your progress there, and let's all make it a healthy year here. Yeah. So speaking of writing into the show, there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Let's do some plugs. I'm going to remind you that this episode of Nintendo Noise is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of February for the very first time. They are, of course, Andy Radford, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Asobi, Smilky Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all are the realest of the real, and we appreciate your support. Speaking of the Patreon, remember, if you want to show your support, go above and beyond just like those folks did and get some goodies while you're at it. There are a ton of things you can do over there, but the base level, no matter what level you support at, you're going to get access to our Patreon exclusive podcast, One More Thing, where Steve and I keep the mics rolling and we talk about just hot nonsense for the most part, if I'm being honest. The episode that you can listen to this week is about arcades, so it's at least somewhat related to video games, so go check that out. But more often than not, I don't know, we're talking about all kinds of nonsense on that show. So if that seems like your jam, if you enjoy this show and you feel like, but what if I could hear Steve and Pete invent a dessert? Well, this is the perfect program for you, so go check it out. And then, of course, you can also get archives of our Twitch stream, where every Wednesday and Thursday we're there streaming. Tonight, if you're listening to this the day that it drops, we're going to be doing our first Pokémon Legends Arceus stream. Of course, we're about to get into a huge discussion about that in just a second, but if you want to come and hang out with us, chat with us live, and come watch us, hunt some shinies, catch some Pokemon, come and hang out. We'd love to come chat with you. And, of course, if you want to keep the conversation rolling after the show, there are a bunch of ways you can do that. Come join the Discord. We are a safe, inclusive community for you to come and chat games and, build your Pokedex out, because everybody's in that Pokemon channel these days showing off their squad. So come and be a part of it. And get links to all the other ways you can get in touch over at flipscreen.games. That is our website where you can write into the show and become part of the question block segment or our main topics, like so many of you did this week. So let's get into it. The main event is here. Pokemon Legends Arceus has finally released to a surprising amount of critical acclaim. I am really obsessed with the game and extremely excited to talk to all of you about it. I already got to talk about it for 3 hours with AJ on release day last week, so I want to let one of you get off the bench first. Sierra, since you're our guest, how far into the game are you? What starter Pokemon did you pick? And general thoughts so far? And
Yeah, sure.
try to keep it as spoiler free as you can.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm about where I am is I'm moved on to the next area of unlocked, like the next like large expansive exploration area. About to take on the second alpha. Or no, the second noble. Sorry, the second noble. So I've been trying to stick to main story beats on my stream. So I have just been doing grinding off stream. So like all my Pokemon are like encroaching like level 31, 32. And I went with Cyndaquil as my starter.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's
best
been
one.
it's been
Wow,
so
okay. So I'm the only one that didn't. I went with Rowlet.
Okay.
wow.
I mean,
it's a great one.
I love Rowlet, and it was a tough pick for me, but my thought process was I used Rowlet in Sun and Moon like not that long ago, and I haven't used a Cyndaquil since I was, I don't know, 10 years old or something like that. So I was like,
Exactly.
let's do it, you know?
Yeah.
I get that. Cyndaquil is just my favorite Pokemon, so that's the choice for me. Rowlet, though, my favorite thing about Rowlet is I no longer see the bow tie as a bow tie. I see it as a little leaf bra because when I first showed it to
Oh
Jackie,
no.
Not the
When I
first
first-
person I've heard say that.
when I first showed it to Jackie, she was like, "Is that owl wearing a little leaf bra?" And I was like, "Yes."
Oh
Yes,
my
that
god,
is
it
exactly
does.
what is happening.
Another streamer I watched said
Yeah.
that too. He was like, I don't want this bird. It's got a bra. And I'm like, even if it was a bra, who cares?
Yeah. So honestly, like I still would like to get a Rowlet and use it because I haven't. I typically choose fire starters. But Cyndaquil is just my favorite, and I was like, I'm not gonna pass this up. I want this journey to be with Cyndaquil.
I really like the new
Fair
form
enough.
too. We won't spoil
Yeah.
that, but yeah. And I mean, we'll
It's
probably
grown
get.
on me a lot.
I think what
I'll
we'll
say
probably
that.
do is after we give our initial impressions, we'll get into like a spoiler full territory, so we can talk about Pokemon and stuff like that. Because I don't want to dance around at the entire conversation.
Yeah, but I know me and Sierra are quite sensitive to spoilers, and I know you are significantly further into the game than
That's the
us.
thing, though. I know where that line is, so I won't spoil anything for you. But I'd like to be able to at least talk about the first two areas. I don't think that's not like
No, that's
unreasonable.
fine.
I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
I'm pretty much at the same place Sierra is. I've just defeated that noble, but I'm curious, Sierra. Like, what's your initial impressions on the game, coming from someone who I know is like a big Pokemon fan?
Love it. The only thing I'll say is that sometimes and listen, do not have any idea how game design works. The only thing that kind of takes me out of the immersion sometimes is like when I see Gyarados like flying around a waterfall, and then as it like flies off into the distance a little bit more, it starts to move at like 2 frames
Oh
per
my
second.
god, yeah, it's so
Yeah.
That
easy.
was so sad. I
Uh-huh.
was like, "Why?"
The draw distance in this game is not
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's really exceeded my expectations. I knew I was gonna like it. I was a little terrified because I historically have not been great at action adventure games. Breath of the Wild has primed me. I think it's prepared me a bit to have a little bit of those reflexes to dodge and to be careful with aim. So that's good. But like I'm enjoying it so much more than I thought. I'm so much more hooked on it than I thought I was gonna be. And it has a lot of charm. It's just so refreshing. I'm so glad that we finally got something like this in the series. It poses so many questions like where are they gonna go from here? Like it had so
Absolutely.
much like the sales it beat Animal Crossing in terms of like debut sales. And it's like where are they gonna go from here? Like what are their plans? Like they had to have like talked like behind closed walls and doors. Like what like if it does well, like are we gonna keep going this direction? Or like what will this mean for the mainline series? Like there's so much to ponder. But yeah, I can't wait to finish it. I actually am looking forward to post game stuff. I don't
Oh, I
normally
know.
think about that.
I'm looking forward to post game in a way I haven't in so long. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's not just like you can rematch this guy down the river. Like
I'm over here being like, what if I did an entire shiny dex too, though? Like, I don't just
Yeah.
complete the Pokedex. What if I get a shiny version of every Pokemon too? Because I don't want this game to end.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
the fact that you can see shinies in the overworld, like in plain sight, like there's like something, like there's a sparkle, like a glimmer that's like, hey, over here, and then you're like,
Mhm.
and you run because that's so exciting to experience, rather than just like walk around the grass like in circles and just like hope,
Just
that it
waiting, yeah,
appears.
hoping that you get that
Yeah.
spawn.
It's like a nice thing that can appear while you're enjoying the game.
In general,
Yeah,
I
It
that's
hasn't
really
something-
like
appeared
Oh,
for
yeah.
some of us.
True.
It will.
You'll get one day,
believe.
buddy.
Yeah, but honestly, like that is something I've waited for so long, where I'm like, the most annoying thing with shinies is just like you don't know until that encounter starts. And just like the one change with this game where it's like the encounters just happen. They don't do the little screen getting covered up in black and then opening up again to be like, all right, now you're in a battle, like it's literally just like it takes place in the world. And because
So
they
much so that
changed
you can
that,
move as well. Like you
Yeah.
can walk
That
around,
was
which I thought was so
crazy to
cool. When I
I
moved the
just
stick, and
walk
I'm like,
in
oh shit.
between. I just walk in between my Pokemon that are battling, and I'm just like, look, I can't get hit.
Oh,
I'm invincible right now.
I remember like the first time, like you can get hit by their attacks,
Yeah, I got hit.
and you can get like knocked down and stuff. Like I remember there was a time where I was standing behind my weird deer, and he got hit by a hyper beam or something like that, and I got knocked down, and I was like, oh shit, like whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah, but that little change was just like, okay, now we have to see shinies in the overworld. This is perfect. Like that's all I wanted for so long, and it took that to make it happen.
So Chewy, yeah, where are you in terms of your spot and your initial thoughts, and then Steve already gave where he is, but then we'll let him get his thoughts out there.
I have been exploring the second area quite a bit. I basically got distracted, I think just yesterday, where I was like, okay, I pushed the story along. I feel like I've worked up the confidence to try to catch all of these big boy Pokemon, all the alphas and stuff. So I just started getting lost with that. I'm like, okay, now I just want to find all the alphas. And then I was like, okay, I feel like I've looked at as much as I could in this first region. I'm going to go to the next one and start doing that. And I haven't really felt a need to push the story any further because I mean, there's definitely points where I'm like, oh man, it would be convenient to have a new ride Pokemon to get here.
Yeah.
But I've found ways to cheese them in so weird ways where I'm just like, oh, I can just jump this river from way up here and I'll take a ton of fall damage, but we'll make it.
Yep, I was doing that too for a while.
Yeah, so I've basically made it through every area without any other ride Pokemon except for the first one.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely destroying me that there was no jump button at the beginning of this
Yeah.
game, and I was just like, why is there no jump button? I can't even go over like the smallest rock. It was ridiculous until you get that like first mount, and then you can dash and jump and basically go anywhere, because it kind of breaks the game in places, like the
Oh,
fact
it
that you can
does.
just jump anywhere.
Yeah. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just finding all the places I can jump to and catching them all because it's just so good. This is the first game in a long time where I'm like, I need to catch them all. I want this Pokédex to be complete. I don't care how grindy it is. It's amazing and I want it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I don't even feel like it feels grindy because, like, I'm real susceptible to that, Like, I don't like grinding. And
I think it will eventually, though. Like when you
I
are
mean,
trying to get like that last one, and you've got to watch it use a power. Like
I don't know,
multiple
Steve. I'm just saying.
times or whatever.
I'm just saying. I'm
Listen.
now I am just shy of 28 hours in this game, and I'm still just going out there and being like, let me catch every Pokemon I see until I run out of resources and I'm forced to go back. And I play this game like a roguelike.
My absolute favorite tweet that I've seen come out of it was like me catching 25 Baidu for whatever, and then it's just that scene from Holes where she's like, "I'm tired of this, Grandpa," and then Grandpa just yells, "It's too damn bad."
Well, that's too damn bad.
It's so funny.
Oh man. So, any other kind of initial impressions you want to offer, Chuy, or should we pass the baton to Steven there?
The other thing I really appreciate with this is just like how smooth flipping through items and Pokemon is, because I feel like every game prior to this, you stop moving. You're like, all right, let me open up my bag, let me check my Pokemon real quick, and then, you spend all that time in menus and stuff. And this one, it's just like, nope, I'm just gonna scroll through my Pokemon. I'll throw one there to hit that tree. I'll throw one over here to hit this rock. Like you can just scroll super quickly and throw like 5 Pokemon out at once, and it doesn't stop you from doing that. It's so convenient. And so they'll even pick things up for you where you're like, oh, there's the medicinal herbs and I'm out of potions. I'll just throw one over there that'll pick it up while I just keep going on my way. Yeah, that it just feels so convenient. It's seamless to traverse the world and explore, and that is something that just kept getting stopped in Pokemon games up to this point. I feel like every inch you take in older Pokemon games, it's like, here's another random encounter. Here's another time where you just have to click A to use Rock Smash or Cut or something. Like, all these little inconveniences that I felt slowed the game down are gone here. And they're replaced with cheesing it with Wordier or whatever it's called. It's great.
Steve?
So I did not like this game for the first 2 or 3 hours. I thought it was as dull as dishwater. It was so much text and tutorial and boring
absolutely.
hand-holding annoyance. And then eventually it kind of lets you go and you get to explore and you get to just like throw Pokeballs around and sneak up on Pokemon and like chuck Pokemon at trees and get them to get resources and learn all the crafting stuff and start building out like your team of Pokemon that you want to level up. And then you go back to the town and you can like pay Tom Nook to get some more satchel spaces, and you can
That guy's
you
a
can get a haircut.
Yeah. He puts the bag in scumbag.
and I love it now. Like I really do. It gives me that let's go plus that I was looking for, right? You can go out, you can see what you're looking for, you get to explore, you get to pick up all the Pokemon, and you get to like get that like sense of, oh, I caught them, this is so cool. And the more you catch, the more you learn about them, and you can as you battle them and as you see them evolve, you learn more, and it's like filling out the entry in the Pokédex, which is really cool. And then you've got a really cool battle system on top of that. I love the addition of the agile and strong style. I really think it changes the game, especially the fact that the enemy can do agile and strong style as well, and then that like changes it up. So you have to like think of like, what if they do agile? What's that going to do for their move set and like the running order, and it adds a lot more strategy into it, I think, than what we had before, which was just a basic like JRPG round and round in circles kind of thing. But I love the game. I'm very much looking forward to it. I do have a lot of issues with it. Technically, it's a mess. It's ugly. I do not like the way it looks at all. And it has problems, but that doesn't detract really from a fun game. I just wish that they had the resource or the desire to make it look as good as it could, because I don't think it's a constraint of the console. You look at something like Breath of the Wild that came out 5 years ago. This doesn't look anywhere near as good as that game, and yet they've had that amount of time to learn the console and learn the system and learn the platform. I think it could have looked better if they had more time.
Yeah. It's funny. I felt that way with like how it looked and stuff. Things are obviously like, like the Gyarados example. You see it off in the distance. It's moving at 2 frames per second and stuff. But I will say the one convenience it brings to the game for it being so toned down is just like how quickly you can fast travel between places. Because that's one thing, like, that was very slow in Breath of the Wild. I was like, why is this fast travel so slow whenever I just want to go to this other shrine, all the way
Right.
across, and you're waiting for all of that to load. And
I
Pokemon
wonder
being
how
like a
much
little
would need
bit,
to load though, because it's not like a
not
full
sure.
open world like Breath of the Wild was, where you've got to load out like one area and load in another. You're in that area.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
true.
from
Yeah, but
But
I'll say
like,
like
I
it just
definitely think you're right because there's less models, there's less textures to load in. It very much is like snappy. Like you can go from one base camp to another in seconds, and it's awesome to be able to do that. Like if you're running out of resources or your Pokemon are all about to faint, you can just go back and rest and top them back up, which is cool. The other main gripe I had with it, which was very glaring at the beginning of the game when everyone's chatting to you, is the lack of any kind of voice acting, whether it
yeah.
is like actual
Yeah.
spoken words or even just reaction sounds. Like you talk to the people in Breath of the Wild, for example, all of the NPCs have like a personality. They're like
I think it's
shocked
so
and they like
funny that
talk to you
you
and they
brought
laugh
that.
and stuff.
I find that shit to
It
be
really annoys me that it's not there.
I find it to
I'm
be
with
genuinely irritating. Like I find the whole like oh, like kind of like thing is really annoying. Like I would rather it just be dialogue and no sounds than
No, listen, I'm
I
with
just
Steve
want
on
like
this.
those reaction cues.
I'm with
Chewy.
Steve on this specifically because there have been 25 years of Pokemon anime. Like, they have properties that include voice acting and stuff. It is time to start using that and adding that into the game.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead,
curious to me why. Yeah, it's just curious to me that like there's like I really thought that like this was the game. They were gonna pull out all the stops and like this is the game. They're gonna have the voice acting, and I get what you're saying. I do feel like maybe in like cinematic cutscenes, it'd be cool if there was some voice acting there.
totally.
But that's just this is my
And that's the thing is, I'm not saying
Like,
I
the
don't
only
want voice
sound
acting.
effect-
I'm more saying I don't want the solution that many Japanese games present, where it's like rather than voice acting, it's like grunts and stuff. It's like I don't need
Yeah.
that. I really don't. I'd
Yeah.
rather just read the text. But like, I definitely agree
I don't know.
with how many cutscenes
Because-
there are. Like, main
Yeah, there's
characters
tons,
could have used
and like
voices.
and
That's
half
true.
of the time there was not even any music on in the background. It was just deathly silence. Like there was nothing, no music, no sound, and then the only sound you would sometimes get is like the sound of like a diamond when you're talking to the like leader of the clans, right? And they would have like their own specific tone, but I don't know. I'm thinking like Persona 5, for example. You knew each character. They weren't always speaking. Like in the cinematic cutscenes, they would talk. They would have full voice acting. But when you're just chilling in like the restaurant or whatever, they all had their own like cue and their own sound. Like it'd be like, oh yeah, and they'd have like a few of them. And for me, it really worked. I knew exactly their personality. I could hear the voice actor saying the words as I was reading them because I knew what they sounded like from the cinematic cutscenes, and it had that additional cue of the noises that they're making. And I can also understand the tone of what the script wanted, the tone that it wanted to get across,
Sure.
based on what they're saying. Like, are they being sarcastic? Are they being serious? Am I meant to read this as sad? You can't really understand that just from reading the text.
I don't agree with that personally. Like, I think like you can get that from text that's well written, but like the writing isn't that good. And I think that's like the bigger problem is like this is a step forward for Pokemon in terms of like developing characters, but like it's a step forward from there being no characters, right? Or like two.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, voice acting would have helped to get those things over, at least in the major cutscenes and the major beats. But I the whole like reaction sounds thing, it's like leave that in the trash. I don't need that.
Well, some more music in those areas.
I was going to
would be
say,
nice.
I wanted to respond to that actually because this is, I think, the most I've been frustrated with a Pokemon soundtrack maybe ever, which is weird because Pokemon music usually slaps, and I feel like there are a few themes that are really good in it, but there's not that much music because there's only a few areas that you go to, and like I remember the first day or so I was playing, I liked the town theme, and now I hate it.
Yeah.
Like really hate it.
The only theme I've found that like really goes is like the remake of Eterna Forest. I don't know if y'all
Which one is that? Is that
heard that in Obsidian Fieldlands.
yes? Yeah.
Get closer to the Grand Arena tree. Yeah, but otherwise it's like when you move on to the next area, I forget what the Crimson Mirlands, I think.
The Fieldlands or Mirelands, whatever.
Yeah. It's like the instrumental music sounds like some Scooby Doo stuff.
It's not good. Yeah, it's really not good. And considering like there are some Pokemon soundtracks that are among my favorite video game soundtracks. That is a bit of a disappointment. But yeah, so I guess to speak to my side of it, like I said, I'm now like 28 hours in, or about to hit that, and I am just now getting to the last noble Pokemon. They've just told me like, hey, all right, it's time to go deal with the last one. And I'm gonna get, I guess, the last map now. I have spent a lot of my time just messing around and like doing side quests. I've done almost all of the side quests. I've been kind of in the rhythm of like every time I get to a new map or every time I get a new traversal ability or something like that, kind of going and like combing over the entire map and seeing like every section and like going and marking up my map of like, oh, there's an alpha Pokemon here. Oh, there's a rare Pokemon that spawns over in this location, and like kind of getting all of that.
You've
like
been finding all of like wisps and the unknowns as well. Like
I have
you
not
clocking all of that
found
stuff?
many of those unknowns, but I have found most of the wisps. I'm still working on. I'm like far away from still getting it, but like I'm at the point where there's like 10 or fewer on every map I've been to now. So like still a good ways to go, but I am coming across them. But yeah, those unknowns, I've only found 2, and I'm like, man, there's a lot left. I have no idea where these guys are hanging out. But you know, I'm sure I'll come across them now that because like I still haven't gotten the ability to fly, and I imagine that will make it a lot easier to hit areas that I.
Oh, interesting. Maybe that's like end game stuff. Then.
I think that's
would
the
have thought
last
you'd have
one.
had that by now.
I imagine I'm gonna unlock it on this last map. You get one new traversal option for every map, and I won't spoil what the other ones are, but. Yeah, I haven't gotten flying yet, so so that said, I've put a lot of time into the game and engaging with its systems, and like I've thought a lot about kind of all of those questions that Sierra brought up earlier, right? Of like not just like what this means but for this game, but kind of for Pokemon as a whole. And I hesitate to say this because I know that I'm still early days in it, but I think this game is in contention for the best Pokemon game.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to how good the systems are, because I don't disagree with any of the critiques that Steve levied out in terms of like its art direction, all those kinds of things. I don't think that it's I will say this. I think that Game Freak deserves a little bit more grace than they're given, because this is only the second HD game that they've developed. And it's only
I don't even think it needs to be HD. Like I look at Wind Waker on the GameCube, it looks better than this, right?
Sure. Right. And my point is, though, I don't think it's a matter of I don't really think it has anything to do with like performance or anything like that. It's an art direction issue. It's that like
some things are, but like the draw distance and like the frame rate stuff and things like that very much is like a technical thing.
Definitely.
But the art direction on like the fact that you'll see blurry ass textures on clothing, which I guess they're trying to make look like knitwear, but it doesn't quite come across. And then like there's pin shot backgrounds.
Even that though, right?
No,
like that's something that like
field or anything.
That was a problem in Final Fantasy VII Remake before they remade it, before they fixed it, right? And it's like, those are things where it's like they're not good, right? But like to me, they're not enough to hamper the experience, right? And I think it's really just a matter of like Game Freak. If they want to continue making games like this, like they need to invest in new talent, because
they need to hire some really top-notch environment artists.
Yeah, because
that's where it needs to go.
They clearly don't have the
Pokemon. They're all
talent
cool.
there. Yeah, and like the Pokemon models look great. The animations that they've added to each Pokemon are great, and there are a lot of unique animations. Like you'll see Pokemon exhibit different kinds of behavior. You can catch them sleeping, you can catch them eating. Like there's all these things that like, you know, are a level of depth to their kind of overworld behavior that we've never seen in an actual Pokemon game, right? That's like a thing that's been reserved for Pokemon Snap and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And I do wish that they would add more to that in the next game. Like I want like the Pokemon Snap stuff thing that each one has like an individual personality. They do different individual things based on like their traits and who they are. Like I want to see Snorlax led down on the floor asleep, and like I can throw a ball at him or do whatever, you know, and like learn the Pokemon and learn their traits and understand why they're doing what they're doing and why they come out at certain times of the day and stuff like that. That would be really take it to the next level, I think.
And I think this game does that in a lot of ways, but it's like it's the first step towards a bigger version of that. You know, I remember earlier Sierra made the comment of like feeling like, oh, like I kind of thought this was going to be the game where they pulled out all the stops, and I feel like that game in a like one-to-one sense will never happen. I think that's like we will get that game eventually, but it's going to be in the way that this came about, right? Because like you look at this game and all of the things, there are a few things about it that are genuinely new, right? The changes to the mechanics, like in terms of the battle system, the catching system, the way that you interact with like menus and items and things like that. All of those things are actually genuinely new ideas for the series. But a lot of the things that like we've talked about is like, oh, isn't this hype? Isn't this cool? Isn't this cool? A lot of them are things that have been in other games that were half-baked, right? Like being in the actual open world environment and having these realistic interactions with Pokemon. We saw that in Sword and Shield. The ride mechanics, we saw that in Let's Go. These are things that like, you know, we've been kind of, or even Sun and Moon before that. These are things that we've like been flirting with and building towards, and they're finally like delivering on the promise of those ideas in a meaningful way. And I think that leads to a game with like an extremely satisfying gameplay loop. And, you know, I think at least for me, when it comes to like an RPG, that's everything. You know, like gameplay loop in most games is everything. But like in a game like this, to get you to commit to the idea of like, I'm going to catch all of these Pokemon. And not only am I going to catch all of them, I'm going to catch multiples of all of them so I can fill out the decks and I can get this and I can get this bonus. And like, I don't think that's ever been as attractive. You know, like I think previously filling out the Pokedex was like a real like, oh, I did this because I wanted to get the most out of the game, or it's like a status symbol kind of thing of like, look, I achieved this thing. But for me, it's like, I just want more out of the game. Like, I'm just enjoying going through the motions so much in every, you know, moment to moment. And that's something that, I mean, it's been a while. It's been a real long while, I think, since Pokemon has felt that satisfying on a gameplay level, and that it's been interested in presenting a challenge, right? And that, like, when I push, the game pushes back. I think you know, like I said, I'm 28 hours in. I have a team of 6 that I've been using for like 10 hours now. They're all trained. They have good move sets. I'm building out their stats, and I'm still running into Pokemon in the wild that are 20, 30 levels higher than me. I'm encountering wild Pokemon that are like pushing level 80 and like that have good optimized move sets and actually think strategically and like going into the, you know, the zones and everything like that, right? And like encountering like 3-4 Pokemon that are the same level as my Pokemon and attacking all of it at once. And like you really need to think to win some of these fights unless you want to grind and over level and stuff like that. And like the fact that I haven't had to do that, but I'm able to enter these fights and be like, what resources do I have and how can I think my way out of this, and how can I, you know, present this situation where I can beat all the Pokemon I want to beat and catch all the ones I want to catch. And like I am just so obsessed with the ways in which they've revitalized these systems, because at the end of the day, right, like we're not quite at that level of, you know, the Breath of the Wildization, right? And when I say that, I don't mean open world, right? I mean, what that game did that was special was think about Zelda right? When you pull everything away and boil it down to its bare essentials, what is Zelda about, right? It's about exploration, discovery, and the aha moment, right? And like this game did that for Pokemon in terms of like, what is the core of Pokemon? It's making it feel like you're going on an adventure, that you are in genuine danger because you're in a world filled with monsters that are these powerful, scary creatures. And the only way that you can overcome that is by befriending and forging relationships with Pokemon and having, you know, the guts to go out and throw yourself up against, you know, these odds. And it actually feeling that way and feeling like the big scary Pokemon are actually big and scary and I need to avoid them until I don't. And then when I don't, it's a triumph. That's really satisfying. And it's something that, like, you know, I honestly don't think Pokemon's ever done this well, right? Like, even in the games that I think of as being among the best, right? That as an experience is something that hasn't really been nailed. And I think that, like, it shows so much promise for what things could look like from here. And like, that's just so exciting to me.
Mhm.
It's funny, your last comment here, because like over the weekend I was thinking like, I used to think there were good Pokemon games, but turns out there weren't. This is the first good Pokemon game they've ever made.
Bite your tongue. Gen 2 is perfect. But yes, otherwise.
Yeah, Gen 2, always. Gotta love it. But yeah, no, I think the difficulty that I find with this game is that like the mechanics and the goals and everything feel like they work really well with the setting and the world and what's going on. And I have a fear that a lot of this won't translate well into modern day like Gen 9 Pokemon. For example, when I look at the Pokédex and the goals of doing the research and that, I'm like, oh, this fits in so perfectly with like this is the first encounters people are having with Pokemon. This
Yep.
is the Survey Corps doing the research into them for the first time, and I feel like that won't quite be pulled off in the future, in the sense of like I think of that scene from the Truman Show where Truman's like, "Oh, I want to go and be an explorer," and then the teacher just pulls out the map and she's like, "It's all been discovered. It's over."
Mhm.
You know, I feel like it's a little bit more forced when you do that, but they can get away with it by doing like, okay, this is a new region. And I think the other thing that falls by the wayside with that type of structure, though, is like, oh, how do you approach gyms and gym leaders? They've been trying to find a way beyond that, but I don't know if they've quite been so successful yet. So
It's interesting.
I feel like the things that I like about this game, I don't know how they're going to fit into what's next for Pokemon.
True.
It's interesting because I think they will. Like, I think they'll figure it out, but that is a challenge because I think the setting of this game really does a lot of heavy lifting and making it more enjoyable. Like, I really dig the setting, and like you said, it makes the Pokédex like actually makes sense for the first time since like Gen 1. And
Even Gen 1 it was confusing. It was like, okay, Professor Oak, how do you have these all organized chronologically already? Like, what, have you not found them all yet? Like, tell me.
I mean, that was the explanation in universe at the time, was that like, oh, Pokemon like are kind of a new thing, kind of, you know? And it's like, oh, okay.
But they're definitely not now that we know about
The history.
Arceus, right,
Yeah.
and history.
Oh, I mean,
and
that's the thing, right? Is
the
that's been
Survey Corps.
that's been out of the water for so fucking long because it's like, yeah, there's like millions of in the second game. There's a whole thing about like, look at these hieroglyphics with Pokemon in them. It's like, ah, shit, okay. But on the path of the world building question, I want to bring in this comment and question about or from Wakahula, one of our Patreon producers who wrote in about this. So Wakahula said, "Man, I love Pokemon Legends Arceus so much. It finally feels like a real adventure. The story isn't that great, and I don't like how it feels like an afterthought. Like there were two separate teams working on story and world. There were some instances which broke the immersion for me, like NPCs just staring at walls or some poor interior design. But the quests and visible challenges in Jubilife throughout the story make the game finally feel somewhat like a living world. I hope they keep the exploration aspect in future games and use it as a framework for world building. It's the single best evolution in the franchise IMO. Maybe add some orchestrated music and let NPCs feel more alive next. AKA,
give them some voices.
AKA letting Monolith Soft contribute more. As a Xenoblade fan, I can feel the influences the game's had on Pokémon Legends Arceus. What surprised you the most, and what don't you like about the game?
Well, can I first say that? Oh my god, I completely forgot about the poor interior design. When you go into that place, like, why the fuck is there one room on floor 3 in the HQ, and why are like most of the doors closed and then the other room's empty? And she's got this big stack of books on her table that she never puts away anywhere, and like these empty, cavernous rooms. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Also, let us decorate our little room a little bit, like. This first time we're getting...
like a secret hideout or something.
Yeah, secret hideout.
Cool.
They ruined the hideouts in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl by making it like only Pokemon statues, and I'm just like, where's the furniture? Come on. Let me make my cave awesome.
It's gonna be the DLC. The like Happy Home Paradise add-on to Pokemon Legends.
I gotta say, I would be disappointed if that was the DLC. Save that for the sequel. So yeah, Sierra, why don't you start here? What about the game surprised you most? And we've already kind of talked around what we don't like. So if you don't have like another specific thing, that's fine. But
the space-time distortions. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That was the feature.
Those. Yeah,
I
they're
love
so
those.
good.
They're so fun.
Those are crazy. Like you see them I noticed they tend to skewer towards like a psychic dark Pokemon, but like I randomly saw a Leafeon and like ran to try to get it, but I missed it.
I caught several Porygon, which I was like, okay.
There's so many Porygons.
They're gonna
from
blow
those,
people's mind in the past here. This is a computer program.
So that and also the premise of the story, which is like how you get to Hisui. I did not expect that. Like I thought the character just belonged.
It's very weird. Like it has this
world.
weird like sci-fi, but then there's also like this religious war history and everything. It's like, okay, yeah, there's some fucking wacky lore going on here.
Yeah.
It's like an isekai anime where it's like a modern person in like a medieval or ancient world. But so the space-time distortions and the premise overall of the story. I'm glad they were not super like descriptive or like threw everything at us, leading up to the game. I'm glad that there were some surprises, whatever I could salvage from the internet being full of horrible people.
Yeah, I was surprised that wasn't something that we had figured out before the game, like going into it and being like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just, okay, cool. I'm talking to God and he's going to give me a cell phone. Okay. All right.
I know.
Whatever.
It makes the whole cell phone thing like make sense, but like, why did no one blow up like from the electromagnetic waves from the phone?
It's
like
don't you wonder like how he charges that thing as well, though, right?
No,
So
again,
where's
that is
plugging it in?
dude. That is the most ridiculous question, and you are not the only person I've seen ask it. So I'm not coming for you, but it's like I've seen so many people be like, "Oh, how do you charge the phone?" It's like, bro, God supercharged the phone.
Like,
it has God energy.
Oh,
the battery
okay,
will never drain.
It's like one of those eternal questions that will never be answered. Like who lights the torches in Skyrim?
The torch man.
They're just always on. Someone comes right before you and lights all the torches just for you.
That's their job. They
You know
get
what,
paid good
Steve?
money.
Funny enough, there's a story beat later on about torches, and I think you'll appreciate it. Okay, because it
What's
his
forward to
job?
tackles
Torches.
tackles it head on.
Yeah.
So I wanted to respond to something Wakahula said, where I definitely agree that like the story isn't like great, but that is probably one of the things I'm most surprised by is that like I give a shit at all about the story, because like it's been, Pokemon went from never like barely having a story. It was like, here's a loose framing device and there's some environmental storytelling and put together what you put together, right? Like it was very like Dark Soulsy in that way of like, yeah, pick up on what you're going to pick up on. It doesn't really matter. And then they got like very
Wow, there's some Dark Souls people just like writing in right now, telling you how wrong you are and the
I'm talking
lore
about-
of those games.
No,
It's
that's
like
my point.
deep.
That's my point, though. Is the story of the way that Dark Souls tells a story is not through cutscenes and being like, here's the story. It's very much by creating a world that's filled with story for you to engage with on your own terms.
I kind of prefer that personally. I prefer that way of storytelling. Right, that's how I learned most of it in like Arcane's games, like Prey and Deathloop. It was very much like you pick up from reading in the world. But I guess in this they went for the opposite approach because at the beginning, like I said, it was very text heavy.
Yeah, and I think like there's problems with that for sure, right? But like this is the most I've been interested in a story and been like I have theories about what's happening and where things are going, and I'm genuinely interested in the lore angle and kind of like what the explanation for some of the things that I've experienced are. And again, that's something that like I wouldn't go out of my way to pat another game on the back for, but like that is something that Pokemon moved closer towards, I think, what we actually want, right? And like the fact that every person in the town has a name and like a personality, and they have little storylines that develop over the course of side quests. Like we're getting there, and like that's. I feel like I literally say that about every Pokemon game. It's like, oh, we're getting there. The next one, though, is going to be something. But this one is actually something, right? Like, this game is good, removed from the fact that it's a Pokemon game. And I don't think that that's been the case in a very long time, which is probably the thing that surprised me the most. Is like how much I'm like, oh, yeah, no, this has good original ideas and has borrowed smartly from other games in a way that it feels like the most innovative Pokemon game since like Gen 4,
I gotta agree with Wakahula though. It really does feel like parts of the story were an afterthought. Really, that initial premise of how you got to the worlds, it was sort of like, well, how the fuck do we explain that this kid's so like really good at catching Pokemon and
I mean,
like, knows a lot and has like a sat nav device that can show exactly where he goes. Let's just say he's from the future.
I think we feel that way because we're a Western audience, though. Like to Sierra's point,
Maybe.
that's an established subgenre in Japanese storytelling of like, oh yeah, like I'm a gamer and I get sent into this video game world, or I'm from the future and I get sent to the past.
Rancher, dot hack sign, all those things.
Yeah, and
Digimon.
it's
ReZero.
yeah, like that's literally like you said the Monster Rancher thing. Like that's the elevator pitch of that thing is like he gets transported there and he's like, oh, I fucking whip in this world because I've played all the video games. Awesome. Like, and it's not that different, right? To be like, oh, you come from the future in a world where nobody's afraid of Pokemon, so you basically have a superpower. That makes, and I gotta say, again, maybe it's because I'm contextualizing against past Pokemon games, but the conceit of every other Pokemon game is that you're a prepubescent child and you're able to defeat people who've been doing this their entire lives and should theoretically be a lot better than you. So, like, at least in this world, the fact that everybody else sucks and you're like a savant.
You're a bit older in this one as well. You're 15.
You
so
are
that was a
15.
surprise as well.
Yeah.
But they're all okay with a 15-year-old dying in the wilderness.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
She was like, yeah, you're going to go out there. It's really, really
old
dangerous,
enough.
but we're going to send you out anyway. It's fine. Don't worry about
To
it.
be fair, though, again, in the context of the old world, that makes more sense. At 15 years old, you could be married and have a family. Like,
Yeah.
And then you die of a plague at age 19.
exactly.
You're a man.
This kid is
You are
only
a
going to live
man.
4 more years anyway. Yeah, he's a grown ass man at 15 years old. He's middle aged.
Spend your life
Weren't
eating the
teenagers
potato mochi.
invented in like the early 1900s or something?
Yes. Definitely.
Terrible decision.
It's
Who
only
made those?
5'2".
It's the most imposing man in all of Hisui, and it's this tiny child.
Like the last point, like the Xenoblade stuff. I know neither of us have really played those games, but I know Chuy has. And I want to see if Chuy sees that influence too. But for me, there's so much like Breath of the Wild and even the UI, like the way you put those pins on the map, they're like the same yellow style that they are in Breath of the Wild, like the way it like swoops across when you pick up a quest. It's like very similar in style. There's like some of those piano riffs in the music that feels like it could have been taken straight from Breath of the Wild.
It wears
And I
that
don't think that's any
influence on
bad
its sleeve.
thing. There's definitely a lot of influence there.
Yeah.
I'd say with the Xenoblade stuff, traversing the world and encounters feel very familiar to me with that, because it's basically like, I remember what I really liked about Xenoblade is like, oh, I can just run around and scroll through some random menu while still going in some direction, and that was really convenient. Specifically, like, I remember that playing on like Wii, the first Xenoblade Chronicles. And then the other thing is just like every encounter, like you don't have a separate encounter screen. It's just like all of a sudden, the HUD pops up of like, oh, here are all the different things going on in this battle, but you don't break away from the world at all. You are just in that. So yeah, both of those things, I'm just like, oh man, this does feel like Xenoblade. It's cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I need to check those games out at some point, but you said you should play this handheld, right, not on the TV? Or is it the other way around?
No, the other way
Obviously
around.
not.
You can't play it handheld, right? Was the thing?
It looks it's so bad.
Oh, no.
But all handheld versions of Xenoblade don't look good. I'll tell you that.
Before we get too far away from the story note, I'll pull in this other question. This one comes from Tyler Olson, another one of our Patreon supporters, who wrote in and said, the storytelling in Pokemon Legends Arceus has really brought to life side NPCs in a way no other Pokemon game has for me. Any NPC or side quest standing out to you? Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Tyler. And like, I think Wakahula is right, where like there are some that feel flat, but I think there are certain NPCs that get more attention, and like I found those ones to stand out to me a lot. There's a character who, this is a very early side quest. I feel like I can say this. There's a side quest where there's a character who you catch a Wurmple for because he wants a Beautifly. And over the course of the time that you're playing, it evolves, and like there's this whole little storyline about, him finding out that it's going to be a Dustox, and then, he's like, oh, it's okay, like I love you anyway, and that's like you have this whole beat by beat story of this nothing character, right? Like he's just a doorman basically, right? And like rather than that just being a character who repeats the same line of dialogue every time you see him, like he has a narrative, and you see him, learn and grow with the world as you grow the world, right? And like, obviously I'm a bit further in the game than y'all are, and like as you progress, like more people move into the town. There's like new blocks added, and like new houses get built, and you have this sense of a community growing and evolving, and it's like those folks are the ones that I feel like stuck out to me the most. Is like, when I could give someone a Pokemon, or I could interact with a Pokemon that had shown up in the village or something like that. Another one of the early quests is like there's like these Bidoof that are like hassling the town, and you like go and catch them, and then you see them running around the town after that. They're helping people move stuff, and there's like all these cute little kind of quiet interactions like that. And I like that. I think that those are the ways I want to see side quests continue to develop, because it feels like it incentivizes me to like interact with the world, and it makes it feel more alive, and there's like a reward for catching Pokemon beyond catching them and using them or shoving them in a box, right? Like it's cool that I can give this person a Pokemon and then it plays a role in the town or in a story or something like that, those are the ones that really, really stuck out to me.
I'll be honest, I've done very, very few of them. I probably won't do many more of them. I don't really care about them.
You should. There's a lot of
cool.
There's a lot of really good rewards for some of them. Like there's Pokemon.
I was gonna say that's why I do them, for the rewards.
Yeah, like there's like you can get yourself a shiny. There's like another one. Where
I know. I know. But I just
for me.
I also don't really care about catching shinies to that regard either. Like I'm just here just to have fun.
Trucking through.
I'm just like chucking stuff here, there, and everywhere. And if I could catch it, fine. If not, I'll move on to the next one. It's fine, no issue.
Yeah. I did want to say, as far as characters go, I really like Captain Silene. Is that how you pronounce their
I
name?
think
The
so.
one who
That's
just like
so funny because I hate her.
Is that Mrs. Angry
what?
Eyes?
Yeah.
Cyrus's ancestor, right?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so. What I like about her is that she gives me Lin Beifong um
You're
vibes
so
from
right.
Korra.
You're so right.
And I'm just like,
Uh,
oh man, I know if I saw her Pokemon team, it'd just be so dope. Steel types, all these things going on.
Stacked squad.
So, yeah, that's what I like about her. She just gives me like badass vibes.
She's a hard ass. That's for sure.
yeah.
I don't know. I like the professor. I like that he's like kind of like bumbling and like he's just very like he's like, yeah, whatever, we'll figure it out, bro. Like we got it. This 15-year-old
That
kid.
hat, though. Like, what is going on with that thing that he's got?
Edo period.
I
That's a little weird to me.
yeah, I don't know.
but-
I'm wondering if that's like is that authentic? Is that a thing people used to wear?
Yeah. My boyfriend has a theory that he also is like from modern day, but we don't find. I mean, none of us are in Endgame, right?
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah, but because of the hat, he's like, it's that hat. But we'll see. We'll see.
I dig that. So this is a question we got from another one of our Patreon producers. This one's from Smilky Shake, and I was interested in this question because I didn't find that it was representative of my experience. So
yeah. I was gonna say, because you just mentioned that you've been playing with the same team for 10 hours.
yeah, well, the last 10 hours. So yeah, so this one, Smilky Shake wrote in and said, do you guys think this game is missing something by not feeling worthwhile using 6 Pokemon and building a team? You're always swapping them out to complete research, and for me, it's like using a team of Pokemon you like means you miss out on doing research for the decks. I don't feel that way. Early on,
neither.
Me neither.
early on, I was playing that way. Like before I had decided on a squad, I had like 4 or 5 Pokemon that I was using regularly, and I'd have 1 or 2 that I would swap out and level up and kind of go through that process to fill out the decks. But once I got further in and I had found enough Pokemon that I'm like, oh, okay, like the team is taking shape, and like I was identifying like, oh, I don't have a good answer to like electric types. I need to add a ground type to the team. Who do I want on the squad? And like that's kind of how I built it out.
I do think, though, that to complete the decks, you will have to play this way at some point, though, because there is most of them all have that you have to see it evolve thing, right? So you're going
You
to
don't
have to
have
get it
to.
to a point.
Really?
Yeah, because like that's one of the ways, but you only need to achieve 10 of the things
Okay.
to get a complete dex. So like you don't have to do all of them. Like you can do a lot of the catching ones, you can do a lot of the battling ones. So you do have a bit of wiggle room, but I don't necessarily feel like I'll care about that in post game because at that point the thing I'm doing is filling out the Pokedex. Whereas
Yeah.
like the squad I've built out now is the team I'm using to battle and overcome alphas and all the stuff that I need.
Any of you use the plates yet? Because I keep getting them, and I'm just like,
Yeah, I don't know. You can't
haven't
do
used
held
these.
items, right?
Yeah, you can't use them yet. So
what are they for?
So the plates, like the only application they've ever had historically is changing Arceus's type. So I'm imagining that that's going to like play into the like post game at some capacity, and that otherwise they probably won't come up.
yeah, it just looks like I've got a load of bars of soap in my satchel at the moment, like just different colors.
Have this. Good job with the battle. Have this commemorative plate.
I feel like my kind of pet theory right now is that when you complete the decks, you'll fight Arceus, and then you'll be able to use them at that point. But we'll see.
Harness the power of God.
Yeah.
Are you
Harness
your
the
dips?
power.
Again, this is a classic anime trope, right? Like chapter 1,
Yeah.
feed the cat. Chapter 12, kill God. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so while we're on this, I wanted to ask, what is your current lineup? Like, what's your team right now?
God, like I remember the names. I've
Go
got
get
a
your
bird.
Switch, you casual. Come on.
Got and it's also not a good lineup. It's just the ones I had that were like the highest level, so I just put them in there. It's terrible, and you're all gonna laugh at me because they're all like similar types. I've got Dartrix, which was my Rowlet,
Right.
Luxio,
Okay.
Staravia,
Okay. So far, so good. These are all different types.
Kricketune,
Yeah. This is fine.
Graveler, and Bibarel.
Nice.
Why would we? That's a solid team.
Well, I didn't know. I thought you were all gonna mock me, but I thought it was all right.
Oh.
No, you're fine. You got a grass type. You got
good
a
variety,
electric.
yeah.
You got a flyer. You got a ground type or a rock type. Yeah, that's solid. Bug.
I've
covered
Need
your
some
bases.
dark ones in there though.
What was that?
I was saying I have Cyndaquil, Buizel, Luxio. I'm waiting to evolve Luxio and Buizel. I don't know why. I just saving it. What else? Krogunk, Staravia, and B-Barrel as well, I believe.
Nice. I love Krogunk. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a pretty fun one to use.
What about you? Chip?
I have just been like changing up my team. So currently I have Typhlosion, Luxray, and then I just got Togepi and Goomy.
Okay.
Togepi so bad.
Yeah.
I can
And
send you
then
one if you
I
need it,
have
Steve.
a shiny Ponyta because it's shiny. It's the one everybody gets. Do that quest. It's great. And then I was like, you know what? I want a big boy on my team, and I caught a big boy Scyther, so
Nice.
I just added that.
Yeah, so my squad right now is Typhlosion, Luxray, Floatzel, Hippowdon, Driftblim, and Weirdeer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're all pushing level 60 now, so we're getting to that end game shit. But I did also just real quick want to shout this out because if you were listening to last week's show, we did a little special where we talked about kind of the potential of adding a new Pokemon type, why that may or may not be a good idea. We spitballed some options ourselves of what people could do. And we actually got a little bit of fan art from Smilky Shake, who wrote in and took their take on a space Pokemon, which was one of the types we had talked about last week. And they called it Cosmic Hat. I'm going to pull that up for you YouTube folks right now.
It looks so good.
It's really good. Yeah.
I think I saw this. This is really good.
Yeah, and Smilky Shake does Pokemon fan art and stuff. So if you like this.
Yeah, they stream at Pokemon. If you want to see them draw more, they stream every Monday.
And they
So
draw a
go check them
Pokemon
out.
on stream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
draw a Pokemon every Monday.
Yeah, so check it out. This was really cool. I love getting fan art. Especially like from some ridiculous thing that we had in our head. And I know Smokey said that the reason they went with the Cosmic Hat idea was because Steve and I are both cat dads. So I appreciated that. Very, very sweet. Thank you so much, Smokey, and thanks for listening. So go check that out. But we were just talking before a little bit about I guess we weren't even talking about it, but Sierra mentioned that's another really crazy change is like the whole being able to evolve Pokemon at whatever time you want, being able to change their movesets like from like a D&D, like attack list kind
Is
of
that
thing.
new? Like, because I
Yeah.
don't know these
Wait,
things,
what,
right?
you
Because
can
I've
do
played
that?
very few.
Oh yeah, Sierra, when you go to your Pokemon, if you select them, you can hit change moves and every move they've ever learned is available and you can change them on the fly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's huge.
What?
Yeah.
I also didn't realize you could throw out multiple Pokemon at once either, but I didn't want to look like an idiot when she was there.
No, and that's
I
the
just
thing is
could
these
throw
are
one.
these are all new things. Like I don't think there's any
Yeah.
expectation that you should know those things.
Wait, when you're just like chilling,
Yeah,
you can throw
like,
multiple
straight up.
Pokemon. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought maybe y'all meant in battle
Oh,
because I was
no.
like that would be really.
Oh,
Oh,
handy
that's
no,
what
for
I
the
thought
board
Chuy meant.
stuff.
Yeah.
No. I wish you could. No, but yeah, no. It's
Yeah.
like when you're just like hanging out. Like if you're a member of our Discord, everybody has been posting pictures of their squad, and it's like you can throw them all out and
Oh.
take a little picture with them or whatever.
Yeah, check that out.
But yeah, like Chuy was talking about this earlier, and that's I think one of the things that I love the most about this game, and that I think is like the thing that has me the most excited moving forward, which will take us into our next question. Is like just how frictionless the experience is. That it's very much just like, yeah, like you can throw the ball and keep running, and if you catch it, great. You can get these, resources in a second. You can evolve your Pokemon at whatever time you want, and it's not going to just interrupt you. Or if you don't want to evolve it, you don't need to press B every time it levels up, right? Or like if you change moves and then you decide, oh, I like that old move, you can just switch it right back. Like, these are such amazing quality of life changes, and like,
Yeah.
just really trying to like remove all of the like just bullshit, right? Like all the stuff that's just historically been kind of like stuff that slows you down and that creates those opportunities for friction.
And how did it used to work? It was like you would learn a new move and you had to forget one, right? And then you can never get it back.
Yep.
Unless you went to the move tutor.
Or the move, the move relearner, the move deleter.
Yeah, the old games were especially annoying because HMs had to be deleted by the move deleter. You couldn't just change them at any point. Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my god! My Mime Junior. I only have it. Oh wait, I have a Mime Junior in my party. I totally forgot. Only because I want to evolve it to a Mime, Mr. Mime. But I thought that it does that when it learns Mimic, and it's like level 32 now. So I'm like, where is that move?
Oh,
did I miss it?
You probably there's the woman who in the back of the camp, like when you walk right in, and you can go to her and like she'll teach you moves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You might need to go to her. I have that problem with Weirdeer where I had to go and have like he had there's a special move that Stantler needs to use like 20 times in Agile style to evolve, and mine didn't have it, but I went and was like, oh, I want to like add like check his moves, and it was in the library of moves that I could access. So so there's like there might be moves that your Pokemon knows that you haven't even like know that you had access to, but you can also go buy whatever ones you want from her and get like like move tutor style moves, which is great.
Thanks.
You got it. So yeah, I mean like all of those things I think have just like they've really like torn down a lot of the walls that used to just make things cumbersome and be like, oh, let me fly to this town so I can go talk to this person. It's like, nah, it's all in one place, right? It's, oh, you can just do it from the menu. Don't worry about it. Like, good, very good innovations. And those are the kinds of things that it's like, keep it up, right? These are the things like keep greasing these kinds of wheels because it's such a better experience now.
Do you not miss some of the like whimsy of the old games though, where you would go to the Poké Center and you'd hear it and you'd have that da 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 noise every time you would like hear them? Now you just go and you rest and then you'll wake up again and you're healed. Like I do miss some of that stuff. I always used to think it was so cute.
I mean like that's a trapping that I didn't mind. Like I never had a problem with Pokemon Centers as a concept, but like obviously it doesn't make sense with this.
No,
right?
It doesn't. No.
So it's like, yeah, hey, I much prefer exploring an open environment and feeling like I'm an explorer rather than like I'm a kid on a field trip. So if the Pokemon Center tune is the casualty of that trade, then so be it,
Yeah.
Well, it's stuff like that, and I realized this was also must be the first Pokemon game that doesn't have a Nintendo console in your room. Because obviously it would never make sense.
Yeah.
That's bravo. That is a great detail. I did not notice. Like
it's not there. Like he could have brought a Switch with him when he came from the future. I mean, my God.
Right?
What if?
Well, God didn't charge the Switch, so even if he had brought it, it would have been dead in like 2 hours.
I kind of want to go look at the room now and see if there's like a pack of Hanafuda cards.
Oh, that would be
that's what they should have done.
Yeah, they should do
been
that.
A good workaround.
Absolutely what they should have done. Nice call out.
God said, no video games. You do my bidding. That's it.
You don't have time to play video games, Junior. You ever want to come back and see your family again? Arceus is a cruel god, is my takeaway from this. This is just ripping this child away from their home and sending them out into the wilderness. They're supposed to do that by choice in the Pokemon universe.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's take it into this last question of the day. This one comes from Mr. DJ, the Content Lewis. Thanks for writing in, DJ. And this one's cool. It's like a bigger question, and we'll kind of use this as, the wind down here, right? So DJ said, I definitely think PLA was a much needed step for Game Freak. That Game Freak Pokemon needed to take. Which most people agree. The gameplay loop is fluid, and catching them all, in my opinion, has never been more fun. As much as I enjoyed the game as it is throughout playing, it left me wanting more because of how good it was, leading to the question, do you think Legends will become a separate series? Or was it just a testing ground for where Gen 9 Plus could go? Maybe both. Give me some Poké War lore in Legends Mewtwo. I do think the old saying remains true. This is groundbreaking for a Pokemon game. Also, who would be hyped for DLC? What could it look like? More areas like the Sword Shield DLC with some small story additions. I think the proposition of turning this into a sort of quote-unquote living game could be potentially cool. So lots to unpack here. So we'll take it like one question at a time, right? So first question, do you think Legends will become a separate series? I think it has the potential to. I think it's very clear how they could do that, right? Like if we do return to the Gen 9 formula and we have like kind of a more traditional Pokemon game where there's gyms and all these things, and it learns some things from this game, but it also kind of has some things that stay the same. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then you could have Legends be the more single-player oriented experience aimed at a slightly older crowd. You can go and explore all of the regions that have already been established, or maybe even like present some new ones, something like that. There's a lot of, like you said, right? Legends Mewtwo, obviously, no-brainer. It would be very easy to go back to Kanto. It would be very easy to go back to Johto and do a lot of these beats in other regions, and I'd be totally fine with that, genuinely. Is if the overall quality and the art direction and all those kinds of things are steadily improving, and we just have this loop, I think that would be really promising. But that said, I also think that there's a really good chance that that it isn't necessarily going to lead to that, and that it is going to be more this game influences Gen 9 and every Pokemon game that comes after. And Pokemon kind of radically changes from here because, look at Let's Go, right? I think we all thought it was a foregone conclusion that Let's Go was a series, and we have no evidence to suggest that it is right now. Would I be surprised if a Pokemon Let's Go Johto came out? No, but we haven't seen hide nor hair of it in years, right? So there's no expectation that that's going to come at this point. I think we could see the same thing here very easily.
Yeah. And I do think the conversation around it is like, I believe in Japan, they're marketing it as like the next Pokemon, like mainline game there, rather than it just being, a spin-off here.
They're kind of treating it that way in the marketing here too. Like, I think the fan conversation is that it's a spin-off, but like, if you remember, they did that they did that post on Twitter where it was like a picture of all the Pokemon games before, and it was all the quote unquote mainline games and Let's Go. But it wasn't like Coliseum or any of those kinds of spin-offs. So like they clearly think of it as more akin to the next Pokemon game than anything else. Crazy. I was watching the 76ers game last night, and I saw an ad for this on the NBA, and I've never seen a Pokemon game advertised that way, where it's like, this is clearly targeting an older demographic as well, right? Like, obviously a kid could play this, but like, I think they are trying to make a play for older Pokemon fans, and maybe that's the path forward. I don't know, but I think in the same way that I pointed out earlier that this game has learned from every Pokemon game that came before it, whether it is the most traditional mainline to, the more like experimental Sword and Shield or the spin-offy, Let's Go. This game pulled all of those kinds of ideas together and new stuff. So the idea that like none of this would be seen in the next quote unquote, regular Pokemon game. No, I don't think. I think we definitely will. I think it has to.
Yeah.
It's so popular.
It's so crazy to think like, they have a roadmap planned out for the next 5, maybe 10 years that we don't know about. It's really hard to say what their intentions are. Like, I'm thinking of so many things right now. Like, so either what could happen is, like, this is just a diversion from the stereotypical format of the mainline games, or, like, they're going to start incorporating all these mechanics into the mainline games, and it will influence them that way, or Or like, what if this is their way of saying like, we don't know what to do with the mainline games right now, or that format, 8 gyms, Elite Four, etc. So we're gonna take a break and do this. Like, it's so hard to say. Like,
I would
I'm
love
just like
that,
waiting.
honestly.
I would not mind that
Like
at all.
if they gave us
Honestly.
like a few of these instead for a while, and then they're like, hey, here's a new region and new decks, and it looks more like this game, but it also has like gyms and some of the more traditional stuff. Like, it would be nice to get away from that for a couple years. I don't know that we will, but like, I would be all
I
in
hope
to
so.
focus on Legends for like a generation or so.
I
Yeah.
don't think we'll get another Pokemon game, like a solid one for another 2 years from Game Freak. I don't think we'll get another Game Freak one till 2024. We'll probably have DLC for this one, if we get anything else.
I hope
That would
so.
make sense.
And I think the route they go is they continue with Pokemon Legends. It's clearly been a success. It makes a lot of sense. You can go back to all of the regions that you've gone to before and add new lore to it and just continue to build on it. And you get Ilka, who did the brilliant Diamond and Brilliant Pearl, Shining
You're right.
Diamond,
Brilliant
whatever.
Diamond, Shining
Brilliant
Pearl.
Diamond,
Yeah.
Shining Pearl.
Yeah, they did those ones to continue to remake the older games and just keep going through them. And then eventually, I think they add new Pokemon into the Legends ones, and maybe that comes into a traditional style game that they get Ilka to make. And I think this becomes like the Game Freak games.
Well, you have to think too, though. With Sword and Shield, Game Freak split their team in an interesting way, because the team that made Sword and Shield proper was not the same team that made the Isle of Armor and whatever the other one was, I can't remember, DLC. That was done by a second team that gave them more time to work on this game. So, like, I could see that being the case where, like, right now that team is working on DLC for this. The team that made this game is now working on whatever the successor to this is, whether that's, another Legends game or whatever the next generation looks like. And then, we outsource remakes moving forward. I that seems like a pretty good cadence. You're still getting 2 or 3 major Pokemon releases out, in the same amount of time. It's just, it's not quite the same clip.
Plus, you can tie them in then, right? Because I didn't realize how much of an impact in the story Diamond and Pearl would have in Legends. And it really does. I've seen a few people comment that it's made me want to go and play the Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl games because of how much they're in here and you interact with the clans and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool to see that. They could do that exact same thing, the same strategy that they did with this. You get Ilka to make, a remake of Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, whatever, and then you do a Legends game in that region. And you can then sell both games. You make a shitload of money like they always do. And you can continue to push this forwards. I definitely think DLC is on the way, to answer DJ's other question.
I really
would love
hope
it.
so. I really
like a
hope
new
so.
region or something you.
Yeah, the way
looking
this
forward
game, the way the game is split up to be in those specific areas and regions, it makes so much sense just to add 1 or 2 more on. You just tack a couple more on. Maybe you add like a couple more alpha Pokemon in and things like that. Maybe there's another Noble that you've got to take down. And I really think you could sell a lot with it. Like, you just do a season pass like they did with Sword and Shield, which was Crown Tundra was the other one, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
And when they were kind of 2 stories, but they linked together or something.
I got to tell you, I don't know, because I didn't finish them because I wasn't that interested in them, and I would absolutely, and I bounced off Brilliant Diamond in the same way. And like this game, I'm like, but like I'm almost done with this, and I'm not done playing this game. Like, I would very much welcome DLC, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in this sense, like, they've added like, oh, here's a new little island in the 3rd version of this Pokemon game that wasn't there in the first one. So they could easily do that. And I could see them going that direction where it's just like $30. We're going to get a couple new regions, their own stories attached to them. But I think especially what would be cool is like I believe there were, and once again, I dropped off of Sword and Shield before I played through the DLC and stuff, and I'm pretty sure there were like caves that you could do with friends online,
Yeah, the
and that
Dynamax
would be
caves.
Yes.
yeah, that type of thing in this game where you
You know,
do
the
just like some
co-op
adventure with
stuff.
other people.
I
It'd be
really
kind of
do
cool.
wish there was some co-op stuff, like team up, go take on an alpha Pokemon together. Like you both are going out with your Pokemon instead, kind of the raid style that you had in Sword and Shield with the
Yeah.
Dynamax. I think that would be really cool. It's a shame that there's no real multiplayer in here at all. Like you can
Mhm.
trade, but you can't battle. There's no co-op. There's none of that stuff. It would be really cool.
I really, really am frustrated by the fact that there's no plan for a multiplayer metagame because and I get it because they really changed the battle system really dramatically. They ripped out abilities. Like they totally changed the way that EVs and IVs work and all that stuff. Like it is a whole different ball game, even aside from the addition of like agile and strong style and all that shit. And I'm like really disappointed that there's not going to be a community to come up around this scene because I love this battle system and I want to see people experiment with it and figure out like what's the OU here, like what are the Pokemon that are the most viable. Like I miss that, and like I'm so happy that this game is so good that I don't actually care that much. Like I don't need that. That's not the goal in the same way that it has been in every other Pokemon game for me is like, let me beat it so I can get to the fun part. It's already the fun part. But I'm also like, damn, I'm really bummed that I can't have like a Legends Arceus Invitational and have people come through and be like, let's fucking go. Like I want to, I would love to do some VGC content with it or something. And there's just no avenues for that, and that's, it's a shame. And that is something I would love to see in a sequel or in DLC. If we're talking about like what could come next from Legends is like, yeah, like give me that option. Show me what that looks like, and maybe there's balancing and stuff that needs to happen before that's viable. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, if you had asked me before this game came out, like, do you think it's a good idea to remove abilities or change this or change that? Like, there's a lot of changes they made that I don't think I would have thought were good ideas, and like they work. And like,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean that I want them to strip them out of like the game proper, but I'm also open to it for the first time where I'm like, you know what? Like the core is still good. And if we want to strip things out and change it up and make generation to generation more dramatically different, like, yeah, like, like let's give it a shot. Like I feel like I'm here for it. I'm here for the level of innovation and the experimentation that they showed with things that like they've never ever touched before. Like status, right? Like status works differently. And like paralysis, burn, freeze, those things have been the same since Gen 1. And they've changed them a little bit, right? Like, oh, now electric Pokemon can't get paralyzed. And, oh, okay, you like they've changed values of them. But the fact that like freeze doesn't exist anymore and now it's burn and you take burn damage instead. Or like the fact that like sleep doesn't put you to sleep anymore and it's drowsy and it has this totally other strategy behind it, and like it brings different things to the table. Like, man, those are things that like I wanna, when I get to the point when I've run out of bigger, scarier, badder Pokemon, I really want to be able to be like, all right, now I want to play another player. Like I want to have somebody, I want to be able to have that dialogue that Steve talked about earlier of like, oh, if I use Agile, are they going to use Agile, blah, blah, blah. But I want that with another player. I want that 4D chess that, Pokemon does so well. So that would be something I would love to see in the DLC if they added like some kind of, now that you've proliferated Pokemon, more people have Pokemon. So we're starting to have like a league where people compete. And it's like, oh, okay, let's fucking go. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
What other?
I love.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I love the other idea for the DLC or the concept that DJ called it a living game. I've wanted for so long. I think that Pokemon is the perfect candidate for a live service game. It just really is. Just imagine running around with everyone else there and you're all catching Pokemon and you can battle a real person at any time. It could be such a cool like MMO style game. I just don't think that that's where they go with
They don't. I don't think they
Legends.
can make it
Yeah.
either. I don't think they have the like. This is it. We were just talking about how they can't even get fucking draw distance laid down. Now we're like,
Yeah.
let's make an online game. It's like, we're so far away from
And
that being a reality.
Yeah.
You know.
That's been something that I remember there was one project that made like the Gen 1 games into an MMO.
I
And that
played
was
it.
Wow.
pretty cool.
I remember.
And then
that.
there's the game that's kind of out now. I think it's eventually coming to Switch. Don't know, but Temtem
Yep.
is that idea too. Kind
It's on
of like
PlayStation.
Pokemon MMO type
I've
of
heard
thing.
that,
So
yeah.
yeah, people are exploring it, but I mean, we've seen what Game Freak has done. We don't know when they'll ever be there, if ever.
I think Game Freak is at the point where they need to go on an aggressive hiring spree. Like they need to bring in new talent who can cover the gaps that they have. And
Yeah. But I mean, while you're talking to like all that stuff with changing the battle systems and stuff, I think this is a step that they've feared taking for a long, long time now. Like changing anything to Pokemon is potentially a very costly thing for them. This gigantic empire that they've made. And there's
Sure.
so many people who are attached to that idea of Pokemon. And so this itself shows that, like, even with the announcement, like I said a while back, where it was like, we got Sword and Shield in November, and then by February, they're like, check out this Legends game that's going to be completely different and everything. Like, we hadn't even given feedback on that game. It was clear that this game was already in development. So I think they are at that point where they're like, we want to change things up. And honestly, I'm down. I've been down for a long time. Just change it up, change as much as possible. And obviously, I'm enjoying it so far. So keep it up. You're doing great.
The exciting thing is, right, is that like we have wanted this for so long, and now it's like, oh wow, like you're actually down to play ball, like.
Yeah.
Okay, fucking A, yeah, like what's up? I've been buying the same shit for forever. Now it's like, take me in the craziest direction you want to go, right? Like let's start throwing shit at the wall, let's see what sticks.
Pokemon Town Builder.
We're so close, right? Like we're close. And I'm like, yes, the hub town, I love that as an idea. Like I like the idea of having like a base that I'm building out and like, again, being rewarded for doing mundane stuff, or stuff that could be mundane.
Mm-hmm.
So before we wrap it up, anybody else have any thoughts they want to offer for a potential DLC, sequel, anything like that?
Nah, just give us more worlds. Give us more worlds.
Just
more
more.
music.
More music. That's what I want in the DLC.
Yeah.
Better tracks.
Better tracks. Better riffs, please.
Look, I'm just saying, I don't want Masuda to direct Pokemon games anymore, but let's get my man back to write some tunes, all right? Like, that guy knows how to write a fucking bop, all right? So let's get him off the bench. All right, so thank you all for joining us. Sierra, thank you for joining us here on the first edition of Ring Fit February.
Thank you for having me. So excited for this month.
Yeah,
Give me
I'm
something to
really,
look forward to.
and it's great because like you're also here for this. Like we'll have this entire month of Pokemon conversation, I imagine, as well. So just a perfect time. So thank you again for joining us. Really looking forward to having you on for the rest of the month. Let the kids at home know where they can find you and all of your awesome content.
Thank you. I stream as SierraPlusUltra on Twitch, on all social media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, I stream 3 nights a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So that's where you can find me on the Twitch gaming website.
The Twitch game.
the Twitch.
Yeah, I'm over on the Twitch. Yeah.
Yeah, the Twitch.
So go check all Sierra's stuff out. And yeah, make sure that if you go and tune into one of her streams that you let her know that we sent you. Okay? So we'll be back next week with some more Ring Fit, some more Pokemon. But until then, if you want to write in with your thoughts on either of them for next week's show, because spoiler alert, that's probably what we're going to be talking about. Please hit us up like all these fine folks did. I love hearing from you. I love hearing your thoughts and opinions on all the big releases. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show. Make sure you write in for next week's. And flipscreen.games. That's where you go for all the links. We'll catch you next week, everybody. See you later.